Entertaining, informative, and educational. Inspiring content that makes a difference.
This is the Maximus Troy Publications Broadcasting Network.
Join the Academy. This show is brought to you by the Breeders' Academy, where we will help you to increase your knowledge of breeding, advance your skills as a breeder, and help you to improve the quality and performance of your fowl.
As a member, I'll provide you a roadmap that you will need to create a true family or strain. Starting with a cock from one breeder and a hen from another breeder, no problem. We can help you to turn your flock of hybrid crosses or mongrels into a pure family or strain, and show you how to continually improve that strain each generation. We'll start by showing you how to select your seed fowl and how to turn that seed fowl into a high-quality foundation strain. Our proven breeding programs and specialty courses are designed to take you step by step through the breeding process. And best of all, I'll be there to help you every step of the way.
We urge you to check it out. You have nothing to lose, and you can cancel at any time. You also have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Simply go to www.breedersacademy.com to sign up.
The Breeders' Academy will not only change the way you think about breeding, but improve the way you breed your fowl.
I feel I was denied. Critical. Need to know information. Well, when the radios cut out, I decided to return to the refinery. But en route, I find I'm in an ambush situation. Must have been a couple of dozen of these things. Well, I dropped the first wave with semi-auto fire, but they just kept coming. Sheer luck, most of them were in front of the truck, so I just popped in the sixth wheel and ran them down. Once they got on board, I handled it with a combination of small arms fire and hand-to-hand techniques. I am completely out of ammo. It's never happened to me before. And they're just chickens.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bred's Perfection. I'm Kenny Troiano, founder of the Breeders Academy, and we have a change of plans. I had to give Frank and Nancy the day off. So I'm here with my daughter, Tawny. We let the A team go off the hook for tonight. We're
So I'm the
going with
B team now. I
the
see
B
how it
team.
is.
And we're taking on the job, and she's like a teacher in training. We'll see how she does. So what's up?
The sky.
The sky, the sun, and the stars, and you, babe, right?
Sure, yeah.
It's lucky that we're even on, huh? Because of the
Yeah.
power outage.
Yeah. They were saying that they weren't going to have the power up until today. So
Yeah, it went out on Monday.
went on Monday
So we went
night.
2 nights and 3 days without power, I think it was.
Torture.
And they were talking about it's really tough not having power. It's very different living by candlelight for the most part.
All those
Sorry. No, go ahead.
All those 2 to 3 days, I was just sitting there thinking, people had to do this every single day in the 1800s. How did they survive?
I think Tony, I think they were used to it. Okay. I think when the light went out, they burned their candle and they went to bed. Okay. So we looked out. We had a generator. It was touch and go because it wasn't a lot of sun either. So it was really tough charging it, but it lasted all the way through. It's like it was getting down to the bottom of the charge, and then finally the power went on and we were good.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna let that happen again. I went and bought another one. So I'm gonna be prepared this time, right?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I never appreciated electricity like I do now.
Yeah, feels weird now that we have electricity.
3 days. It's so pathetic.
Yeah, they said they cut out the power because of wind. We didn't really get that much wind, so I think they were just punishing us. So.
We had about an hour of wind that looks like that, like what you'd shut the power off for, but that's like for an hour. So
it wasn't that bad. Not enough to turn off the power. So if you guys noticed the YouTube shorts that we've been doing, Tawny took over. She's doing a great job. She's made a whole bunch for me. I think I have about a half a dozen of hers on there already, and a bunch in stock. She's been doing a good job doing things with those shorts I didn't even think you could do or didn't know you could do. So they're looking really good.
Thank you.
So what have you been doing? Talk a little bit about your scare zone.
The scare zone. Oh, that's as far as we could go. Okay. So I've got about 5 to 6 videos out so far. A lot of them are pretty much montages of the scare zones. Like we've got Carnival and Ghost Town are condensed into one. I think you showed that video on the show before. We've got a Goring 20s, we've got a Gauntlet, Forsaken Lake, and I just did a video, like a short video presentation of my podcast intro.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. If you want, go check it out. It's Scare Zone into the Scare Zone, Enter the Fog. So
I should have pulled it up.
You should have.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
Drop the ball.
There it is.
There we
Scare
go.
Zone. Oh, we need to change
Into
it.
The Fog.
Yeah, it should be Enter the Fog.
Enter.
So if you guys are really into this kind of thing, keep an eye on Tawny's page because she's going to be posting all kinds of good stuff. We filmed a lot of footage during Not Scary Farm, and looking forward to doing it next year. And she may even try to audition for a scare position. So that'd be really good.
I'm really excited about that one. I've got about 2 to 3 characters in mind if they'll let me do streets.
Yeah, like I was telling everybody last time, I didn't think this was something I could get into. I just went for her, but I actually did. And this isn't normally my kind of thing, but I had such a good time. And then Tawny's Black Pearls, which are looking really good. Probably the best I've ever seen them. I probably have just as many Black Pearls as I have Maximus birds at this point. They got really good color. They got really good conformation of body. They really represent their breed and their variety really well and their strain. So it's coming along really good. And
Oh
pretty
yeah.
soon we have some that we can give away to our members in the near future. So that's good too.
Yeah. They're beautiful birds. I mean, you look at them, it's like eye candy.
I know. I'm trying to figure out why I gave them to you because I like them so much. And I love my Maximus line. I've had them for so long, and they're just a big part of me. And to me, they're some of the best birds out there. But the black pearls are neat because they have the same conformation and type as my Maximus line, but they have that black breasted black red color. A lot of people call it brown red, but it's not really brown red.
No.
But they're regal. They look awesome. They're just getting better and better every year. This last couple of years, they jumped leaps and bounds. So I'm really really happy with the way they're coming out. Like I said, I kind of wish I wouldn't have gave them to her.
Should have made me pay for them.
I'm going to make you work for them. You're going to be doing all kinds of shorts and do some editing for me here pretty soon.
I'm already doing that.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to make you do a lot more.
I'm getting off scot-free when you really think about it.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think so too.
Damn it, I pointed it out. I should have done that.
Yeah. For my members, just know that all the videos we do, all the podcasts we do, make sure to, I know it's easier to watch some of this stuff when I do put it on YouTube and when I do put it on the podcasting platforms, although the members roundtable and the breeder, what's it called? The master's class videos, those aren't out front. Those are on the website. But whether it's the master's class videos, the roundtable, the members roundtables, or the actual live show, make sure you check those out on the website because I add all the show notes, all the information that goes with it, and it's quite a bit. There's quite a bit of information that goes with those videos. Something that I don't put on the front end. It's not just the videos, it's not just the audios, it's the information that goes with it. So I want to make sure you guys check that out. I'll try to remind you guys of that for upcoming shows so that you don't forget. But yeah, make sure you check that out. Also, subscribe to our newsletter, which we call the Breeders Bulletin. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. There you're going to get a lot of free articles, tips on breeding, a lot of bonus materials such as the ebooks and the downloadable PDFs. Just go to www.breedersacademy.com. Let's see, what do I want to talk about now? Oh, yeah. I do want to welcome a lot of our new members. We got a lot of new members lately, which is awesome. We got more returning members, which I really do appreciate. So just make sure to take your time. Make sure to start with the Start Here pages and don't try to absorb it all at one time. Just take your time, check it out, take notes. And after you've been on it for a little while, got an idea how it's all laid out, if you need me, we can get together and we can do a coaching call. But I do appreciate the new members. If you want to become a member, again, just go to www.breedersacademy.com or click the QR code in the upper corner there, and there you can join. They'll take you to the registration page, become a member. You'll have access to the website, but you'll have access to the Founders Program, the Master's Class videos, Members Roundtable, programs and courses, the daily articles, and we even do coaching calls. So, one more thing. Let's see. I do appreciate... I'm not doing too good here, am I? Okay.
Patetico.
Well, no, don't start that. What is it?
Patetico, pathetic.
Yeah.
I'm learning Italian is why.
Yeah. She's been calling me names. She's learning the dirty names first. So
it's fun because I can call.
Don't teach your kids the language of your forefathers, okay? It comes back to bite you. So
I can call you guys whatever. Sorry.
I really do appreciate you guys buying the products on our Cafe Press. There you're going to get coffee cups, hats, t-shirts, all kinds of products. And I do appreciate that too. It really shows the support for what we do. And one more thing, although we do the live show here, and I'm glad you guys participate and show up, Make sure you check out, if you want to listen to the audio version of this, which I do like a lot because we really do fix them up. We really do clean them up. We add a lot of things to them. Those are fun for me. The live show is kind of like the raw footage for us. And then I edit it down into a really nice package for the audio version. So go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon.com, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Make sure you do that. And also click the QR code in the corner there. That'll take you to my free website where you can find those links as well. Okay. So I guess we're ready to go, Tawny.
Awesome. Ready for me to bombard you with questions?
Yeah, let me just set it up real quick here. This is going to be an interesting show. When Fred called me and said he couldn't make it, he had something he had to take care of. And then Nancy was running really late from work, and it was going to be tough for her to make it. And so she's really tired. I think she's going to participate in the back end, so you guys can talk to her in the comments. But we were going to do genetics, basic genetics. And I had a really nice outline and was all excited to do it, but looks like we're going to have to hold off until, looks like, next week. So it was either don't do a show or come on by myself. And then Tani said, hey, I'll come on with you. I was like, okay, good. So I sat down and her and I got together and says, okay, what can we cover that would be fun? So we came up with an idea where I have a whole list of breeding terms that a lot of them are attached to our glossary on our website, things like that. And I just thought we could just make it fun. I don't think we'll go more than an hour today, but she can bring up some words. I can explain what they are, and then her and I can talk about them. So that's how we're going to do it today. And I just thought this would help you. This would be fun. This would help you, give you a better understanding of some of the breeding terms that are out there. Understand that a lot of these terms you kind of need to know to understand the breeding programs or mating, like the Founders Program, and understand how they work and improve your vocabulary. Okay. Do you have anything picked yet?
Yes. What is I know I'm gonna botch this. Quantitative inheritance.
Quantitative inheritance?
Yeah.
Okay. The way we teach it, it's very connected to polygenic traits. Polygenic traits are multi-gene traits. Okay. They're any trait. When you look at a bird, you look at the comb of the bird, the color of the leg, the feather color, the conformation, the type, things like that. They're all determined by genes. Now, some of the genes on the bird are determined by one gene, and it's also determined by one of two alleles that will determine how that gene is expressed. Okay. When we're looking at polygenic traits, and I'll get to the quantitative inheritance in a minute. When you look at polygenic traits, they're determined by multiple genes. It could be 2 genes, it could be 10, it could be 100, it could be 1,000. Who knows? Okay. For a chicken, there's 22,000 genes within a chicken. Same thing with a dog. There's 22,000 genes within a dog. There's 78 chromosomes in a chicken, 78 chromosomes in a dog. Okay. So when you have a trait that's determined by multiple genes, a lot of times what you have is variation. So if I look at all my birds in my flock, let's say I let them all run around, they're all free ranging, doing their own thing, and I look them over, and I can see, let's say I'm wondering about the type of the bird, the silhouette, the outline of the bird. So I'm looking them all over, and what do I see? Even a family that's well established, very tight, very close, very inbred, you're still going to see variation. Okay. So if I look at all my birds, I see variation within the different type, all the different birds with the type. Okay. If I was to count them and put them on what we call a population distribution graph, let me pull that up real quick. Okay. And I measure them. And what we normally see is that there's a small number that are real close to what we want. Okay. And then there's a small number that are on the other spectrum that are probably not even close to being what we want. And then the rest of them, you have the mean or the average. And when you look at the ones in what you normally see when you see the average is there's a larger number of birds within that average. And if you were to measure them and count them, what it'd do is it'd create this, what we call a bell-shaped curve. Okay. So the highest point of that curve is where the average is. And we want that average to be as far over to the good side as possible. And you get that through selection. So you select out the bad birds, keep the good birds. And the better you select, the better you breed, the better birds they become. Not only is the population distribution graph working in your favor, but you have a lot more better birds. So what happens is because you have variation, that means it's measurable. And for it to be measurable, when it's measurable, it's what we call quantitative. Okay, so quantitative inheritance just basically means that it's measurable. But what are we measuring?
I'm lost.
Polygenic traits, multiple
traits?
genes, the
Okay.
difference in variations within the family. I know that's a lot. I just wanted to see what you'd say.
I'm just trying to think of everything like in pictures. Like, is this? I'm familiar with. You've said a lot of this to me before, and I've been listening to you since you've had the show. Is it the gummy bear thing? You'll know what this means. The picture of the gummy bears where you have the blue gummy bear and the red gummy bear, and they
No. That's more monogenic. That's more Mendelian inheritance. Yeah. Wish I had that on here. They know what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about that?
Talk about monogenic, I guess.
Anybody else has a question about that? No? Okay. So if you see any questions, let me know. Any other? Okay. You have another one, Tawny? Pick another word.
Let's see. What's codependent?
Codominant?
Is that what that is? Okay, codominant.
Okay. So
it's very small.
Okay. So when you're looking at genetics, a lot of times when we're dealing with monogenic traits, we mostly see either dominant or recessive. Okay. And when you have two copies of the recessive, it usually is expressed. All you need is one copy of the dominant to be expressed. Okay. Codominant is when they express, let's say, what's a good example? Okay. There's a chicken called the erminet. Okay. When you breed like a dominant white to a dominant black, and they both have to be dominant. When it's codominant, what happens is the bird expresses both the black and the white. So we're not dealing with spangled, so there's no black or white tip on the tip of the feather. It's not splash where each of the feathers have multiple colors within one feather. But what happens here when we have a codominant trait is the black feathers are black and the white feathers are white. So because it's codominant, we're dealing with two dominant traits. They're both expressed at the same time. Okay. And there's not a lot of traits in chickens that are what we would call codominant, but there's a handful, and mainly the erminets would be the biggest one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What's next?
Okay. What's a gene linkage?
Okay. So what happens is a lot of times, if we look at Mendel's, I think it's the second law, the independent assortment of genes, what that basically tells us is that one trait doesn't affect or change the expression of another trait. So the comb of the bird is not going to change the color of the bird. The color of the feather is not going to change the performance of the bird, that kind of thing. But what happens sometimes is when the genes are on the same chromosome and they're really close together on the chromosome, a lot of times when they go through a meiosis, through the crossover event, they're passed together. And the closer they are on the chromosome, the more often that they're going to be passed together. So we can assume that when we have one trait, a lot of times we're going to get the other trait too, that we can depend on it. And if they're really far apart, when they go through crossover, when they go through meiosis and the crossover event, chances are they're going to be distributed differently. And a lot of times it will depend whether they're passed together, or whether they might be passed together with some offspring, but not all of them. That makes sense?
Can you elaborate what Passover crossover means?
Okay. So meiosis, you have mitosis, which is basically the copy of a cell. And then you have meiosis, which is the creation of the sperm and the egg. And what happens during meiosis, I don't want to talk about all the phases it goes through. We'll be here all day. But it does go through a number of phases where you have basically a chromosome. It does go through mitosis first. And then you basically have, they copy themselves. And those chromosomes are one from the mother, one from the father. What happens is they actually wrap themselves around each other, and they leave traces of each other. They actually swap parts of each other. So where there's a part of a chromosome on the father's will be exchanged for the mother's chromosome, and vice versa. So there's different parts of the mother get attached to the father's chromosome, and different parts of the father's chromosome get attached to the mother's chromosome. What happens is they get together, they wrap around, they connect, they trade traits, they split off, and then they divide. And when they divide, that's the actual creation of the sperm and the egg. And so meiosis, that wrapping around each other, sharing genes, and dividing is the crossover event. Then they go, and that's also gene recombination. And when you create gametes from, let's say, parents that are unrelated or crossed or hybrids, you get large variation. When you have a family that's very tight, very inbred, you get a lot less variation, so that when they go through meiosis, they go through the crossover event, they go through gene recombination, they're sharing so many genes that you don't really notice it. There are some variation, but it's very little. So the idea is to get them as tight and homozygous as possible, so that when they go through the crossover event and go through gene recombination, and they distribute into the egg and sperm, you get very little variation, and you get predictability, uniformity, you get repeatability, all that kind of stuff. That makes sense?
Yeah. But what was that middle part? I'm kidding.
Okay. What's the next one?
I think you covered quite a few of these in that part.
I was wondering if we were going to do it that way. It's hard to explain just a word without
bringing in all the other words.
Kind of, yeah, because they're all kind of connected with each other. So, but do your best. Find some that maybe I haven't covered that looks interesting. And I don't mind covering it. If it's connected to the other one, it still looks like it's interesting. I don't mind doing it, but do your best to find some that are.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You haven't talked about gene recombination yet.
Yeah, well, I just did. It's part of meiosis. Yeah.
Okay.
So you weren't listening.
I was trying to. I have a bit of a slow brain.
Did I lose you in the beginning, the middle, or the end? That's okay. Give me another one. You should. While I'm talking, also think about another one.
That's why I didn't get that middle part. Okay. I was thinking of something else to say. See what happens when you try to make my brain two things at once?
Yeah.
Science of selective.
Hold on, Tony. What?
You have a couple questions from your member from the chat room.
Okay, which ones? You want to go hit them?
Do I want to go hit them?
Yeah, go and click them, because I don't know which ones they are.
Yes, come help me.
I'm getting lectured.
What do I know about being a co-host?
My wonderful and beautiful wife.
Come.
Okay.
You're doing
I guess I'm missing
job.
questions.
Oh shoot! Let me turn my phone down. Oh my God.
That's what I was was hearing.
Oops. Now the thing is blurry. Okay. Here we
This is
go.
going to be a very interesting show.
I know Kenny hates the name game, but
Yes, I do.
have 3/4 round head, 1/4 sweater pullet, and have a hatch stag and leaper stag. Can I make a family out of one of these?
Okay. Yes, I do hate the name game because I don't think it means anything. I also hate the percentage game because it shows that the name game doesn't work. What we need to do, and yes, you can create a family from anything. And the way the Founders Program is set up is it's basically set up for birds that are hybrids, that are mongrels, that do come from parents that are unrelated. So if you have two birds that have the traits you're looking for, they have the right type, conformation, color, behaviors, temperament, performance ability, whatever it is, whatever traits you're looking for, if they're good there, then they would make a good atom. Okay. And the idea after that is to find a hen that shares the same common traits so that you're not, because you really don't want to go into a breeding program with two birds sharing contrasting characteristics, because you can, but you also have to understand what the genetic factors of those traits are. So you understand when you put them together, what you're going to get, because some genes are going to work against each other. Some are going to cancel some out. Some will be complementary. You just got to understand what you're putting together so you know what the results are going to be. But the first part of the Founders Program is a cleanup process. So it's designed to clean them up so that when you get into the foundation stage, you're not going to have all that genetic diversity, which is a good thing. So yes, you can create a family from that, but understand what you're looking for, what traits you want your family to have, and forget the name, forget the percentage of what's in them. Do they have the traits you're looking for or not? Does the cock match the hen and the hen match the cock? Then that can be your Adam and Eve, and we can move forward with that. Jacob, let me know if that answers your question. You got another one for me? Is mom said I had a couple questions.
Yeah, here we go. What other breeds of chickens can you follow the standard without double mating?
Oh boy, that's a good one. Well, I had a friend of mine say, because I'm big into following the standard for one thing, but I'm also against double mating, as the way I can tell by the way you're saying that. And he also said, he was just joking with me, but he said, if I followed your standard, the only thing that you could breed would be black and white, which is not true. I mean, there's a lot of different color varieties that breed true, and that's the whole idea. You want to perpetuate a family that breeds true. If you're willing to use double mating to keep the family going, which means you have to have a cock's line, you have to have a stag line, you have to have a hen's line, a pullet line, and you've got to breed certain birds together with different color factors to get a certain particular result. And to me, that's not breeding. That's not creating a strain. That's not maintaining strain or improving the strain. That's just manipulating colors. Some people are like that. Some find it necessary for the particular breed that they're raising so that they can show them. And some are, I know a handful that are like Jack Dodd that are really good at it. And they win all the shows because they really do understand it. Not my way of breeding. I don't prefer it. But reds, they don't need double mating. Silver ducklings, proper silver ducklings. If you have a proper silver duckling with the proper hen with a nice, cool, even white breast, it's going to give you those silver ducklings. Or you have the silver wheatens that match each other. You won't have to do any double mating there. Blacks, whites. My mind's going blank. But I mean, there's some, but I do want to stay away from double mating as much as possible. I don't know if that answers his questions at all or not. So let me know. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat the best I can. I usually rely on Nancy for the chat, and she's playing hooky. So
well, she's helping me out a little bit. I'm new to this, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Jacob said that did answer his question, by the way.
Okay, good. Okay.
And I believe we have another question. It goes, what causes the pattern difference between a Dominique chicken and a Is that cuckoo marans?
Moran, yeah.
Moran chicken.
Some people call it Marans, some people call them Morans.
Yeah. I'm used to it being spoken, I'm not used to it being seen.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. They are different, Barbara. I'm trying to remember how I don't think the Cuckoo Moran is a proper barring like the Dominique. Dominique is related to they use the Dominique to create the barred Plymouth Rock, I believe, but that's a completely different trait than the Morans. So you can't mix them. You can't use them together to improve each other or they're completely different. I'm trying to remember what the Moran is. I'm not really sure, but um, the Dominique I think is an autosomal trait, if I remember right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know what else to say about that actually. I'd have to look it up, but I know they're different. Yeah.
Let me go to my handy dandy glossary. Hybrid vigor. Let's talk about that one.
Oh wow.
It's on your list. I blame you.
I know. I probably should have took it off because we talk about it so much. Okay. So hybrid vigor is something you get when you're crossing two unrelated birds. It could be two different breeds. It could be the same breed, but two different families. And what it is basically overdominance. So when I breed two birds that are, especially when they're from a family that is inbred, that's well established, and then I breed that bird to another family that's the same, I get extreme vigor. I get high vigor. So what happened, to give you like an idea what that looks like, is if I was to breed two birds that are unrelated, and let's say those two birds, different breeds, good birds, let's say that they're 100% of their potential. That's just the mark you start with. So I breed them together, they produce offspring, you get that hybrid vigor. It's also called heterosis, overdominance, and you get offspring that are a lot better than their parents. Okay, this is with chickens, dogs, it's with cattle, everything. It works everywhere. It's what we call hybridization. Okay, so I breed them together, you get overdominance, you get offspring that are, I don't know, bigger, better, faster, stronger, smarter. They have everything in every trait you can think of. They're actually pretty good and they're pretty impressive. So let's say those ones, because they're so good, they're 120, 130% of their parents' potential, to give you an idea where they stand. So I think, wow, I got really good birds. They're awesome. The cross was a success. So I decide that I'm going to start breeding them. I'm going to breed them together and make a family out of them. And what happens is, because it's hybrid vigor, it's a one-time deal. It's not inheritable. It's not passed to the next generation. It's a one-time deal. That hybrid bird or dog or cow or whatever is the product. That's the product of the breeding. And you can't repeat it. You can't pass it. Okay, so I breed them together and they don't go up any higher. They don't go higher than 130. They don't even maintain the 100 that the original grandparents were. They actually fall down way below that. They could be 70, 80, 90%. Who knows? It's an obvious difference between the original birds and the birds that they came from. And so that's the problem with hybrid vigor, is it's a great, factor, and you can get some incredible animals, you can get some incredible birds, but it's just not a way to improve the family. And there's a lot of people out there say, well, I need hybrid vigor. I'm breeding these two birds together so that I can improve hybrid vigor or maintain hybrid vigor. You can't improve hybrid vigor. That animal with the hybrid vigor is the best it's going to get. It can't pass it, so you can't improve it, and it's not something you can maintain. So what happens is they get offspring from the hybrid crosses bred together that are all over the board, unpredictable. And it's all because of the way meiosis works and the crossover event and gene recombination, which gives us variation. When you got birds that are unrelated, sharing, have a lot of different genes, a lot of genetic diversity, the variation's off the chart. Okay, that's why when people say, well, I'm going to infuse new blood to refresh in my blood, we talk about this all the time. You don't refresh in anything, you change them. You're dealing with any improvement you are getting is hybrid vigor. It's very temporary and you can't pass it to the next generation. So I always say, always improve your family within the family and not bring blood from outside, because what you thought was improvement wasn't.
So, in other words, by mixing and matching all the time, you're just starting over. You're not improving anything. You're just like going up, down,
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, exactly.
And then once you reach the end, or what you think is the end, you just get this mongrelized mess of everything. And a whole bunch
Awesome.
of diseases. It's just like
Yeah.
the one-legged dog limping
Well,
around.
that's the thing, is that hybrid vigor, outcrossing, crossing, outcrossing, infusion, hybrid vigor, it does, a lot of people say, well, what I like about mutts, so let's talk about dogs for a second. What I like about mutts is they're always healthy. Well, yeah, hybrid vigor, outcrossing does hide detrimental and deleterious genes. It does. But it's not a family. You're not gonna that mutt, you're not gonna repeat it. That mutt is the product. That's it. That's as far as it goes. That's as good as it gets. Okay, but when we're developing a family, we want more than that. We don't want to just, we don't want the one product. And so what happens is people do the outcross, like you said, they get the really good offspring from that. And then after that, it's like the third, fourth generation, it goes off the rails. And it's like you said, from then on, it's like this. Then they're wondering what happened. I had good birds and now they're all over the place. Something went wrong. So what do you think they do after that?
Well, just to add to that, what you were saying, it's like the genes that they didn't know were there were hiding, and now they're finally coming out 2 or 3 or 4 generations later, is what I take from that. What they do next, they probably either give up or add another strain, or add another bird, or however you say it.
And what do you think
just
happens
don't
after
understand.
that?
It gets worse because they don't understand what they're doing by introducing a whole bunch of different strains, different birds. It's making it worse. It's pretty much rubbing salt into the gaping wound is what they're doing there.
So if they go 3 or 4 generations, they see it going off the rail, they bring in new blood. Sometimes they'll see an improvement, sometimes, depending on how the genes match up and the birds they use. But again, we went back to it being a very temporary thing. Okay, it was a quick fix that didn't fix anything. It just looked good on the surface. But the genes underneath are all over the place. Genetically, a lot of variation, a lot of diversity, a lot of confusion within the gene pool, in the genome of those birds. Okay. So yeah, I mean, sometimes they do get a bump, but it's not great hybrid vigor when they do that, because you get the best hybrid vigor when you breed 2 unrelated animals that both come from really strong inbred families. Because the more inbred they are, the better they're potent, the better mitochondrial DNA you get, the better hybrid vigor you get. But understand, when you cross them or infuse or add new blood like that, that product is the best it's going to get. So,
yeah,
good, awesome, Tani. I guess
the one
you do
thing I know a
listen.
lot about.
I know we talk so much about hybrid vigor and crossing. I get so sick of it sometimes, but it's so important to. I try so hard to open everybody's eyes on that, because that idea of infusing new blood to refreshen a family is so misguided. It's so wrong, and it just misleads and destroys so many birds that could be good families, or maybe they were. I've heard it so many times where someone said, I've had a family for this many years. They were passed down from my father and my grandfather, and I was told to add new blood to improve them, and I destroyed everything they did. They just were never the same, and that's exactly what happens. Got another word for me?
I just think it's funny how one piece of bad advice can really ruin you.
Okay,
and that's
beep,
the kind
we
of
do have an interruption here going. Okay,
emphasis on the interruption.
Okay, going back to Zach's question of what other breeds of chickens can you follow the standard without double mating? On a follow-up question to that, Zach,
Black-breasted black reds.
I can't
like
hear
my
you,
black
so
pearls.
just listen up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's not wearing a pair of these sweet things.
Yes. So just listen up.
These stylish things.
Okay, so he's saying, so it's more of a color pattern than a breed situation, is what he's asking.
especially when it comes to double mating.
Okay. Well, there you go. And there's your answer, Zach.
I'm not sure I'm done yet or not. Matter of fact, I'm in the process of editing Brian Reeder's second episode, which is on patterns, pattern breeding, the patterns of the bird and breeding them, and the different modifiers and things like that. So, for my members, look out for that. That's going to be the next video. And I'm sorry it took so long. I just got really busy.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? Any other words? Lay it into me.
Well, here's one that looks pretty odd here. What's blanket theory? Because like I can't for the life of me imagine what that could possibly mean. I'm sure you've talked about it before, but I've never seen it phrased like that.
I don't talk about it a lot, but it's part of that 16th infusion method that's going around. A lot of people do this 1/16th infusion method and don't realize that's what they're doing. Basically, what's happening is they got this family, or they think they have this family, and let's say I've got American game, and let's use a very distinctive bird that I see they're using from time to time, more than I like to admit. So they got this acyl, and they're told it's always good to have a family that has a little bit of acyl in it. So they breed the acyl in, and they think they're breeding it out by breeding the offspring back to their American games over a number of generations, in the hopes that they get to a point where the offspring are 1/16th and acyl and 7/8 or 1/16th and 15/16 American game. But see, again, those percentages don't work like that because genes don't work like that. Okay. Genes like monogenic genes, dominant recessive, you either have it or you don't. You either select for it or you cull it. Polygenic traits have multiple genes. So you're always selecting to the highest intensity to either improve it or strengthen it or make it better. So that idea of that 1/16th infusion, the idea of refreshing blood doesn't really work. And that blanket theory has to do with that, where they say, okay, I've got this one bird that has these traits, and I have this other bird that excels in these other traits. And by breeding them together, that I get the best of both worlds. And basically that's blending. Once again, blending doesn't work when it comes to genetics. The closest we can come to blending would be incomplete dominant traits. So the idea is to have two blankets, both of them have holes in it, but when I lay them together, the holes cover up each other because the holes aren't in the same places. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and yet those holes are still there.
Yeah, just that theory doesn't work. It's a nice thought, and there was a time when I believed in it too, and I understand why people do believe in it, but because of, again, we'll talk about again, because of meiosis, because of the crossover event, because of gene recombination, and the closest you can come to getting both traits like that with what we were talking about before, which would be not sex linkage, but gene linkage, is where if the genes are very close to each other on the same chromosome, the chances are they're going to be passed together. That's like as close as you're going to get to getting the best of both worlds. But that doesn't happen with every trait, and you can't control that.
So
the only way you could control that is by breeding birds that share that trait over and over again, multiple generations, and you have a chance of them being what's the word for it? Oh, I always screw this word up. I always mess it up. Not consolidation. God, I don't know why I can't think of it. Where they're together. I can't think. I don't know. I always mess up that one word. Does that answer your question, Tawny?
I believe so. So bottom line is the percentage game is just does not jive with genes. It's just not how it works.
You can't genes aren't separate within percentages. They're not measured that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because nice.
Percentages are associated with bloodlines and strains, and that name doesn't dictate what direction the family goes. Only the genes they carry and your selection will dictate that. Forget the name. The name means nothing.
Sounds nice, sounds dandy, but it just doesn't work. So,
Well,
we've got
let me
it.
answer this real quick. I saw this.
Okay.
This is from Sue. Sue's a
Right.
great breeder too. One of our members. I'm really proud of her. Side sprigs. Can this be bred out, or will the gene lurk in the birds? I have a close flock. Not all of them have side sprigs. Okay, good. So side sprigs is a recessive trait. It can, like she says, lurk within the gene pool because it is recessive. The best you can do is select away from it. Don't breed to it and get to a point where it's hidden. Over time, and this is a great example, and I wish I had it on here, but when you look at a Punnett square, and Punnett squares aren't exact, but they're great references. They're great guides to let you know kind of what you're dealing with. There's another word for it. I'm not thinking of it, but so if I look at a Punnett square, and let's say side sprigs, you either have the gene that's free of side sprigs, or a cleaned up comb, or you have the side sprigs, which is the recessive. Okay. If I look at the Punnett square and I breed a bird that's clean to a bird that has side sprig, then what I'm going to see is a Punnett square that has three birds that I can't talk all of a sudden, that share the gene or express the gene. And then let me see. No, it'd be three that don't, and then the one that do. Okay, because you have the recessive. But out of those three that are clean, that are dominant, which is what you want, two of them are heterozygous. They're dominant, so they're not expressing it, but they're. Why am I feel like I'm screwing this up really bad? I think I'm off my rocker on this one. Yeah, I hope she's following me on this one. But they still carry it. So I have one that's definitely carrying it. I have two that aren't carrying it, but aren't expressing it, but are carrying it. And then I got one that isn't expressing it nor carrying it. So the idea is and this is the hard part, is to test them, to try to find the ones that are free of it, breed them together to a point when it's not expressed anymore. And here's a good example, because it's like comb types. It's like straight comb, single comb versus pea comb. My birds were pea comb, but I knew that they carried the straight comb, single comb trait. If I crossed them to another bird that carried the same trait, I would get some single combs, but they didn't pass it. So I kept breeding to the birds that had not only were pea comb, but had more of a proper pea comb. And you know what? I haven't seen straight comb, single comb in my birds for years. And I even bred some of them to a single comb, and I still didn't get it. So over time, I may have, and I won't know unless I start really testing all my birds to find out, I may have bred the single comb out of my birds. But that takes time, finding the right birds, breeding the right birds together, and it's not overnight, and you have to test them. And when we're talking about testing them, is let's say you get a pea comb bird, okay, and you were told it's pure. So to find out whether it's pure, I got to do what we call a test cross. So I'm going to breed that bird into a single comb, and I'm going to check out the offspring. If that bird is indeed pea comb, all the offspring should be pea comb. Now, they're not pure for it now. Now they went from homozygous to heterozygous. Now they carry this straight comb, and we know that if we breed them later down the road, they're going to express it. So those are test crosses. They're probably still good birds. You can give them away, sell them, whatever. But that's how you test for the dominance, test for the dominant trait. And, not that I want to test for side sprigs. I'll tell you what, Sue, I would just cull those things out. Anything that even resembles a side sprig, get rid of it, breed to the good ones. And my prediction is that you're going to see it less and less every year. You're going to get to the point where you just don't see it anymore. So that's what I would do. I hope that helps her.
Yeah, she says she's following you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we got another question if you're ready. Where'd it go? It moved on me. There we go.
I didn't touch anything.
I know. Melissa wanted to know if you had a chance to talk to Brian about,
Okay, the moorhead pattern. You know what? It's on my list of things to ask him. He just hasn't got back to me yet. Let's see. When did I talk to him last time? I think it was like February. So maybe I'll contact him January, February, see if he wants to do another show to answer some of the questions, because I got a number of questions from my members, and I just haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. But I remember that being on my list.
Okay. She says no worries.
Okay, good.
We got another question. So he goes, if I get a rooster that I like, what would be the best way to keep his characteristics going? Would it be breeding him back to his mom or breeding him to his sister?
Okay, well, what I'm basically going to say is I'm trying to see how to answer that. My first thought is if you join the Breeders' Academy, we have a program called the Founders Program, and I can show you how to make a family with that rooster. It's not as simple as just say, okay, I'm going to breed him to his mother, or I'm going to breed him to his sister, because, what are you going to do after that? Okay. So the Founders Program is set up into phases and stages. You have 3 phases, which is the Genesis phase, which is your Adam and Eve. And then you have the transition stage or phase, and then you have the foundation phase, and then it's broken up into separate stages. And so the first part is obtaining your Adam and Eve, which is your seed fowl, and then we run them through a cleanup process, which gets rid of a lot of the variation and genetic diversity, so that you can go into the foundation stage and really fine tune them and make them a family. So it's not as simple as just taking a rooster and breed to his mother or his sister. There's a lot more that has to happen other than just that.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, let me say this too, real quick. That's also a hard question to ask or answer, because what are the traits that rooster's expressing? What are the traits that his mother's expressing? What are the traits his sister's expressing? Because although you could breed the rooster back to his mother, which is a back cross, and the whole idea is not to perpetuate or maintain his characteristics, it's just to get more from the mother. So that's not, if that rooster's that good, I wouldn't go back to his mother. Let's put it that way, because I'm actually going backwards. Okay. I would not breed him to a sister unless both of them are really good birds, because then I'm just perpetuating, I may be perpetuating the good traits, but I'm also perpetuating the bad traits. So to me, there's other things you need to do before you get to that point. Okay. So it's not a simple question to answer exactly, but I would like to, I'd just like to tell you, just join the Breeders' Academy and, check out the Founders Program. It'll answer your question better than I can do in the front end.
Yeah. A lot of variables to that.
Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns too. So it's a hard one to answer just here like this.
Not a straight cut question.
No.
I'm not seeing any more questions from chat right now.
So I'm going to pull a word from the list.
Where'd that come from?
I put that up there.
Oh, okay.
He's one of our members.
Yeah. Join the Academy.
Yeah.
Seriously, guys. It's really good. Thank you, David.
Okay.
Next one on my list here was recombinant
Recumbent reciprocal selection?
That's the word.
Okay. You're picking all the things that have to do with crossbreeding. That's funny. Okay.
I'm not even trying, honestly.
Okay.
Words, it's just not wording tonight. I'm sorry.
It's basically a breeding program, breeding method, and it's a really cool one. It's used quite a bit in the commercial industry, where you have 2 separate families that nick. When you cross them together, they produce really good offspring, but they are hybrids. Okay. And a lot of people, the commercial industry uses it with their Cornish cross program so that they're producing really good hybrids for consumers, but they're not giving out their grandparent and great grandparent lines, their protected lines. Some breeders, I've seen this in the past. I wouldn't say I see it a lot these days, but there's times when I've seen it in the past where good breeders would have two really good families. They didn't want their good blood out, so they would cross them. They'd sell their hybrids, and which were actually really good birds, just not great breeders. Okay, so the purer the two families are, the more inbred they are, the more proponent they are, the better hybrid vigor you're going to get. So when you have two families like that that are pure, breed them together to produce a really high quality hybrid, that's recumbent reciprocal selection. I don't have a problem with it as long as you're being honest to the people you're selling birds to. Because
So
I do believe that even a hybrid bird, if he's carrying the right genes, he's not sick, he doesn't have defects or deleterious genes, then he makes a great Adam, and the same thing with the hen. Would make a great Eve. You can create a family from that. You can move forward. It is really tough for many people to go to even some of the best farms and get a really good cock and hen, and get a cock and hen that are actually related to each other, and then move forward with that. Even if you do, a lot of people don't know what to do with it. They're not actually able to create or improve the family or move the family forward with those birds, because a lot of times they don't understand what they're doing. They're not selecting like the original breeder did. They're not getting the same results. And then epigenetics kicks in and changes the family from there. They usually give up, spend a lot of money, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for a pair or trio, give up because it's not working out like they thought. They bring in new blood, they destroyed the line from there. So,
So what's going on there? Are the people selling the birds lying and saying this is
sometimes. So it's a little trick that some breeders do, that they have really good birds. People know that they have really good birds, but they don't sell their good stuff. They don't sell their pure lines because they don't want them to replicate them. They don't want them to uh, get the birds and then do better than them. Okay. So they cross them, sell the hybrids, protect their protected lines. I mean, it can be used as a trick. It could be used for
Yikes.
the various reasons. Yep.
So basically they're talking up these birds and then just giving out their crap
Yeah, sometimes.
stuff.
Yeah, that happens.
Wow.
It does.
Something.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yikes.
If you're honest
be
with
careful,
the person,
guys.
I have no problem with it. But yeah. Okay, what's next?
A lot of these I think we've talked about, or
any that we haven't,
or in passing talked about. What's founder's effect? I see that on here.
Basically, in a lot of ways, the founders program mirrors a lot of the factors you see in evolution, like genetic drift. And founders effect is a form of genetic drift, I guess you could say. So what happens is when you have, let's say, like bottlenecking. So you have a disaster come in, knocks down a number of your birds, and you're basically left with a small number of birds. And depending on the genes that they have, you could have lost your good birds with the good genes. And now, because of all you have is these birds, they're going to go in a completely different direction. You try to create a family, and they're never going to be what they were. Okay. Or it could be that you lost a bunch of birds and now you only got a few birds, but yet they happen to be your best birds. So you go in a great direction, and you actually improve them. They become the best birds that ever existed. Okay. We call this improvement through reduction. And it's a great way to fix a family that's struggling, or you want to preserve a family, or let's say you buy a family from a particular breeder and you want to try to replicate or even improve what he did. And a lot of times you can, because you're dealing with a smaller number of birds, lower number of genes. He's dealing with a bigger number of genes, a larger number of birds. You're able to make bigger progress faster than he can if you know what you're doing. Okay. Now, founder's effect is a little bit different. Both bottlenecking and the founder's effect are different forms of genetic drift. But the founder's effect is when you take, I kind of explained it a second ago, when you take, let's say I go to Frank's yard, I get two of good birds from him. and I take them to my farm. I create a whole new family from that. Those are the founding birds. I call them the Adam and Eve, and then I create a family from that. So the founder's effect is taking two birds from a larger population, making a family out of them and improving them. Where bottlenecking is when I lose a bunch of birds, I'm only left with a couple of birds. Whatever genes they happen to have is what I have to deal with, and it depends on how well I can select them and direct them in a proper direction, and what genes they had, whether I actually create something from that. So both of them are different forms of genetic drift, but that's basically what it is. That make sense?
Yeah. I was
Okay.
just thinking while you were saying that, the environment matters quite a bit, doesn't it? Because let's say, like you were saying, you took a bird from Frank's yard where it's kind of it's rainy, you know how Kentucky is. And then you and then you
And
take
so does
it.
Frank.
Yeah, so bird to California where it's a completely different environment. Does that change the bird itself or also its offspring?
Yeah. It's called epigenetics. And what
Okay.
happens is the environment has a lot to do with which traits are expressed. Okay. The environment, what it can do, it can actually turn on and off genes,
Hmm.
or it can actually change the intensity of some genes, which can change the way those birds. It won't change the birds I got from Frank, but it will change the offspring that I breed from the birds from Frank, but because of my uh, environment's different. So
Okay.
that happens a lot where someone will buy birds. Let's say somebody on the West Coast buys birds from someone on the East Coast. They get them. They're great birds. They start breeding them, and they're like, "What happened?" They're different from the other breeder, and he thinks he got screwed. Well, sometimes they do, but sometimes let's say they gave him good birds. It just didn't work out because there was different traits being expressed on my yard than it was on his yard. So it's up to you to look at the traits that are being expressed, which is your phenotype, and that's all you have to select from. You select the traits that you like, cull the ones you don't like, and you make a family from it. Will they be like Frank's yard? Maybe, but they might not too. But can I still make a good family out of it? Yeah, it's determined by my knowledge of breeding, my understanding of genetics, and how I select them, and then make a family from it. So epigenetics has a lot to do with how the birds, the traits they express, and how they grow and develop, and how they turn out. So it's a major factor. It doesn't
So
change the genetics; it just changes the way they're expressed.
I see. So those genes, how are they switched? Does the hen lay an egg and the oak inside says, "Ooh, it's cold," or "Ooh, it's warm"? How's that exactly switched?
Um, Basically, you have histone modifications that work like switches, and you have DNA methylation that works like knobs. And the switches
What are
turn and off.
those?
Well, histone modifications work like knobs, and where they turn on and off genes.
Ah,
Okay. Then you have the DNA methylation that works as like knobs. Did I say the other one? The other one was the switches. Histone modification, I believe, is switches, and DNA methylations that works like knobs. So if it's not switching on and off genes, it's basically changed by the way the switch on. I don't know if you have it because we don't have that here, where you turn the light switch on, and by how much you turn it, it goes from dim to bright. Have you
yeah,
seen those? Okay, because we
yeah.
don't have that here. Well, that's the knob I'm talking about. So the brighter it gets, the more intense the light is, right?
I
And the
see.
lower is the lower intensity. Well, depending on the environment, it can determine how much of intensity, how much of that knob is being twisted.
I
Okay.
see.
Yeah. So it does play a factor. And the idea is to create the best environment you can. We have a term we call the three-legged stool, which is your way of improving your birds, improving their environment, and so that they adapt better by the way you manage the bird, I guess you could say. So basically, the first leg of the stool is the environment, which is it is what it is, and your farm management and how you manage the farm and how you manage and take care of the birds. Okay. Then the second leg of the stool would be healthcare and nutrition. So it depends on how healthy the birds are, how healthy you're able to keep them. Are they going to have to rely on medications, or can you breed them? Can you keep them healthy without the medications? And can you build a disease resistance as you go? The nutrition is, the better you feed them, the healthier they're going to be, the better that they're going to express their true potential. And if they're expressing their true potential, because we're dealing with the phenotype, whatever traits that are being expressed is all we have to select from. If they're showing their true potential, then you're probably able to select them properly. If they're not, then you're selecting phenotypic traits that aren't really showing you what's in the genome, and you're not making the progress you should be making, because you're actually selecting traits that aren't true representations of the gene pool or the genome, and you're just not getting there. And then the last one would be, the last leg of the stool would be the genetics that it carries, and how you select them. So that helps you deal with the effects of epigenetics, is by understanding the three-legged stool.
Okay. We got a couple new questions.
Okay.
Kind of relating. Can epigenetics change the prepotency?
Well, they're actually different. Okay, so epigenetics is controlled by the environment, like I said. Prepotency is controlled by how pure they are. So the more homozygous dominant genes they carry, and the more pure they are, the more inbred they are, the more prepotency you're going to get. So anytime you cross a bird, you've just destroyed its ability to be prepotent. Whatever improvements you're getting is because of hybrid vigor. It's not because they're actually passing their genes to the next generation. So if you're worried about prepotency, you want the purer the family, the more inbred they are, the more homozygous dominant genes that they carry, the more prepotent they're going to be. It's really important to understand that. So you're talking about two different factors that can affect the bird in different ways.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is, I want to create a new breed of birds. How many generations of breeding would it take?
Connie, can you read that again?
Happen?
Can you read that again? You broke up, because I'm going to use this as audio too.
Okay. Right. If I want to create a new breed.
Do it again. I'm sorry, Tony. Oh, wait, hold on. You're breaking up for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
You were doing that a little bit earlier too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having some internet issues. Okay, go ahead. Try it again.
Okay. So let goes, if I want to create a new breed of birds, how many generations of breeding would it take for that to happen?
Okay. So again, we need to use a proper breeding program. We need to start with the best seed fowl possible. The less defects they carry, the less deleterious genes we have to deal with, the healthier they are, the better. Okay. So if I'm dealing with really good birds that don't have a lot of issues, then it's going to be quicker than birds with a lot of problems. Okay. The more the Adam and Eve share the same traits, the less contrasting characteristics we have to deal with, the quicker it's going to be. No matter what, like, if my members know, if you look at the Founders Program, it's going to take at least six, 7 generations. I would say 5 generations to see if you're going in the right direction. Probably 8 to 10 to say you got a family, and maybe 12 to 15 to really refine it into a solid, well-tuned, highly inbred family that's repeating itself, every time. So it's a hard question to answer, because there's so many variables. But I would say at least 5 to 10 years, at least, with good birds. With cruddy birds with a lot of issues, you could double or triple that.
Okay. You want me to keep asking questions, or how much
Yeah, a
longer?
little bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit more. Okay, because we're probably running out of words you can use because we're like covering a whole bunch of them.
It's like you gave me a list of like 40 terms, and then I'm listening to you. You're like using 5 of them with each question. Like, no,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm running out of things.
Well, if there's any more, let me have them. We can start wrapping it up here
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Coefficient of inbreeding.
Oh boy.
Did I step on something here? What did I do?
Well,
fine. Genetic drift. What? Pick
no,
one.
we've already covered genetic drift. Well, the coefficient of inbreeding, a lot of people rely on it to determine the amount of how closely inbred they are and how closely related they are to each other. And the more inbred they are, the more they freak out. I want the family to be as homozygous. I want to see homozygosity. What's she saying?
I don't know.
Nancy, what?
She has a question?
My question is...
She's invaded my screen.
I'm going to make her sit at the damn mic. I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
She should.
Hold on, Tani. Hold on.
My question is, with that being said about epigenetics, what you said about epigenetics, should somebody looking to buy birds...
Nancy, wait. Stop. You're going to make this an editing nightmare. Close that. Close it. Come here. Come in. Just close the door. This is a crazy show. Oh my God.
Let me know when you're done, because I've got another question in the wings.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I don't know. Am I ready? Go ahead.
This question may be too tough for you to answer, but here we go.
Oh, shit.
All right. With that being said about epigenetics, what you said about epigenetics, that if Frank takes a bird from our yard and takes it to his yard, things could change, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With that being said, somebody who is looking to buy birds, should they be looking to buy birds in their general area rather than buying birds from across the United States?
The closer they are to your environment, yes, the better, but you still have to deal with what's in the genome or whatever they're carrying or how pure they are. I mean, there's so many variables. My advice would be, when you buy birds from someone else, don't expect them to be like that breeder's birds. You're going to have to do your best to create a family from them. And you're going to have to understand how to do that. You're going to have to improve your knowledge, understand the genetic factors of the traits they're carrying, and you got to know how to select them, and you need to use a proper breeding program. So I don't care where you get them, just you have to understand that you're going to have to make them your own. That's what I would say.
Okay, so it's really not a concerning factor.
Well, it's just not. It's not just buying birds down the street isn't always going to fix the problem, because you have other issues too.
Yeah, but it might not be an issue that you would have to deal with if, you buy a bird from, say, New Jersey.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe the environment may be a different geographical location, but for some reason the environment in some ways may be closer than you think, and it may not switch on and off or change the intensity of traits. Who knows? You just don't know. I can't answer that with any certainty. All I can say is, when you get birds, you buy birds from someone else, expect to have to do certain things to make them into a family, and they're probably going to be different than where you got them for many reasons, not just because of epigenetics.
Okay. And then somebody's asking, what are some reasons as to why brood stags or brood cocks are much more expensive than brood hens? Which they probably shouldn't be. Because the hen is more important than the rooster. You can explain that one too.
Okay. So why would a rooster be more expensive than hens? I just think that's just the breeder himself doesn't know the value of his hens, and the people buying them don't know the value of the hens, because I see that a lot here too. When I used to sell birds, that people would come over here and spend all day to find the right cock or stag, and then just pick any old hen. They didn't realize the value of the hen. The hen, because of because of mitochondrial DNA, prepotency, all that, are more valuable than the rooster. The mitochondrial DNA is, determines a lot. How do I say this? It determines the health, vigor, growth, development, and overall result of the family. Because if you have a healthy hen, then you're going to have healthy offspring. If you're using medications and hiding whatever faults they may have, it's going to show up in the offspring. Okay. So the idea is to pick the right hen because she has so much influence in that way with her offspring that she basically determines the direction of that offspring. Okay. Yes, when we're looking at prepotency, that's typically a male thing. The only time it becomes a female thing is when the cock isn't pure, isn't inbred, doesn't carry homozygous dominant traits. And so his prepotency is so low that the hen just basically takes over. She's more prepotent. Okay. But because of her mitochondrial DNA, if she's got good mitochondrial DNA, she has a bigger influence on the offspring in general. So people are selling the cocks for more and the hens for less, don't realize the value of the hen. And the people who are paying those don't realize the value of the hen. So if you really understand how it all works, well, let's put it this way. Sometimes the breeders do. And what's happening is they're just using that price range because the cock is flashier, more exciting. It's what most people want in the first place. But I can tell you one thing, those golden hens, if he understands how good they are, understands how valuable they are, you'll never even see that bird. So the idea is whenever you're going to buy birds, you just want to pick the best cock and hen you can and not neglect, not say, okay, I'm going to pick a cock and just whatever hens I get. You put as much attention to that hen as you do the cock, and you'll be in better position. So you want a hen that looks really healthy, active, has a good mind. You can tell that she has a good mind. She's not all flighty, scared, or high strung. Okay. She's got real good type conformation, holds herself well. She's proud. She's active, all that. Then, and not sick and healthy, not expressing any faults or defects, then chances are, and if you're breeding her and she's producing offspring, the offspring are really active, healthy. You don't have to hardly do anything. They pretty much grow themselves. You don't have to get them medications. You don't have to worm them, things like that. If you see offspring like that, then you have a hen with good mitochondrial DNA. That changes the direction of the family completely. The hen is important, and picking hens with good mitochondrial DNA is even more important. Anything else, Tony?
I do have one. Whoop. I have a black-breasted red hen, very healthy, vigorous chicks, good mother, but wrong conformation of body. How can I fix conformation on her future offspring?
I'm trying to figure out how I want to answer this.
Okay.
When you're selecting, and that sounds like it's going to be your your Eve. It's going to be your seed hen. You just don't want to start a family with birds that have faults like that. And conformation is a tough one because it's not a simple select for this or select for that or call for this, call for that. It's about selecting, getting, like, let's say her offspring, looking at her offspring and then looking for the few or two that have the best conformation. It's not something you're going to fix overnight. It's going to take many generations. It is a polygenic trait. It is a quantitative trait. So we're having to pick the highest intensity. Adding new blood is not going to fix it. You're just changing the genes. You know what I mean? You're not improving anything. You're not taking advantage of what the benefits are. So adding new blood isn't the answer. Selecting the best offspring over time is the answer. But again, I don't know if her conformation is that far off, I would not start with her. I would not use her as your Eve, as your seed hen to start a family, because that's a tough way to go. It really is. Hope I answered that right. Okay. So don't use any words. Let's wrap up whatever questions we have, and then we'll
Yeah,
call
we got
it a
one
night.
more.
Okay.
We've got, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, we got one more.
Okay.
So we got another one from.
This will be the last question of the night.
Yeah, last question. Another one from Let. What is the best way to pick out a bird for a first-time breeder who doesn't know anything about the conformation of the bird but wants to get started on becoming a breeder? What to look for?
Do we know what kind of breeder he is? If you're a domestic chicken breeder, then buy the Standard Perfection. Get to know the right type, conformation, color of the bird, the right characteristics, the purpose of the bird. Get to really understand that. American Game, I would say join the Breeders' Academy because we have programs and courses for that. It's going to teach you the type and conformation of the bird. It's going to show you the defects that exist. That way, and I suggest you do that. If you're going to go buy birds, learn the proper structure and the build of the bird. Learn what to select, okay? And we have that on the website. That way, you're going on their farm and you're selecting birds with a being somewhat educated. You're going in there educated with some knowledge. You have an idea what you're looking for. I wouldn't rely on other breeders. Obviously, if you don't know what to look for, I guess you'd have to, but I'm not a very trusting person when it comes to that. So I would go into the Breeders' Academy if you're an American game fowl breeder and learn what makes up the bird, what to select, what to watch out for, so that you're going to their farm educated. I wouldn't order in the mail either. Domestic chickens. Now, there's some things in the Breeders' Academy for domestic chickens, like all the defects. We do use American Games as the example, but I think even if you read the confirmation page and you have a domestic chicken, you're still going to get a better understanding of what chickens should have and shouldn't have if you have that. But the website's just full of information. Like I said, we have the Founders Program, work on a couple other programs. We have a program we call Gene Shopping Program. We have the Improvement Through Reduction Program that we're going to have out pretty soon. A lot of information there, a lot of programs, of course, that support the Founders Program. We're putting new stuff on there all the time. So that's what I would do. Yep. Okay. So anything you want to say, Tawny, to your fans before we wrap it up? She froze on me.
Fans. Like I'm over here sitting over here going like, what fans? I hope that helped. Sorry, I almost botched some of the words on this list.
You did a good job.
They are both very small, and my brain is also very small. I'm kidding. Yeah.
Tanya, I want to thank you for joining me. That was fun. I didn't know how it was going to turn out when she first offered to come on because I wasn't sure if we were going to do the show or not. Nancy didn't think she was going to be able to make it. She was running really late and she was really tired. Then Frank said he wasn't going to be able to make it. He had some things to take care of. So, but the more I thought about it, the more excited I was. And I'm glad you came on. It turned out really good. So I hope everybody learned something today.
Yeah.
Again, join my, where's that? Let me do this real quick. I need to organize these a little better. Yeah, they're in the wrong place. Okay. Join my newsletter, which is our Breeders Bulletin. Go to www.breedersacademy.com. There you're going to get a lot of free articles, free tips on breeding, some bonus materials such as the ebooks and the downloadable PDFs. And yeah, go to www.breedersacademy.com. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm going to have to change this. Now I know why I did that before. Okay. So we'll see you guys hopefully next week. I don't see why we shouldn't. And appreciate it. Thank you. Say bye.
Thank you. Bye.